everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Broadway World Podcast. Today we have Dane, who is the creator of the Beyond the Glass Disney animation building documentary coming out. And we're going to discuss it with him. So let's welcome him.
Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. I was wondering if something came up because I was waiting for you.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm always late to these things and have a terrible habit of that. So, all
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm flexible. I'm fine. We're
right,
fine.
all right, cool.
Uh, so tell me about this documentary a little bit.
Sure. I mean, what would you like to know? Just like kind of like the synopsis of it, or
Um, let's start with the synopsis of it first, and then
all right, sure.
and then I'll ask you like how you got this idea.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, I mean, in very, very brief recap, basically in 1989, MGM Studios opened, and there was a opening day attraction called Magic of Disney Animation. Um, and what guests could do is they could tour the Walt Disney Feature Animation Florida studio. And while the animators were making movies like Beauty and the Beast and Mulan and Lilo and Stitch and Lion King and Aladdin, um, guests could watch them at work. And the studio closed in 2004, and then the attraction actually closed in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World or saw that
I
attraction when it was there.
Yeah, I saw the attraction. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know that it was like a meet and greet, after the
Yeah.
studio closed basically. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but back in its heyday, it was a place where magic literally was made, like the name suggests. So um that's what it's about. And it's told through the perspectives of animators.
Mm-hmm.
So, like most documentaries, I did, a bunch of interviews and then cut them together. So you really, it wouldn't have the same effect if I was just telling the story. So, in my opinion, it's um it's actually a lot better than some of my other previous videos that I've put out because it's told through the lens of people that actually work there and
Right.
people that have created some of the greatest, you know, not only Disney movies but animated movies in general. Because you got people like Mark Henn in this. He's going to be a Disney legend this year. Literally, he's being inducted to the Disney Legend.
Mm-hmm.
And he designed Jasmine, and he designed Ariel and Mulan, and he was the princess guy pretty much. He did like all the 80s and 90s princesses.
Right.
And then you got people like Aaron Blaise who worked on Raja and Young Nala, and some executives in there that worked with this studio, and people like Max
Mm-hmm.
Howard, who was a studio executive and was the head of the studio from the opening to 1995. Um, and he was really instrumental in keeping the studio alive pretty much for the
Right.
first couple of years, because he was very hands-on with the park aspect as well, because it was like this, it's kind of being owned by two things: actual Walt Disney feature animation and Disney World. So you kind of
Right.
needed to have a guy in charge that could build a bridge between those two and kind of maintain those relationships, and he did a great job of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting stories being told through this. So that's a little brief summary for you.
Mm-hmm. And what was like the creative process like making this, like
Mm.
coming up with the idea and everything?
Yeah, well, we'll start from the beginning. So, pretty much, I've been working on this for almost, I would say, a year. Yeah, because it was March 23. So there's a book that is also out, and it's written by a woman that worked at the studio. She's not in the documentary, unfortunately. She actually passed away since writing the book. But the book covers a lot of the technology aspects.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, it would be great, if someone were to make a documentary on this, because it could be more of people based and it could be
Right.
telling the story of the animators themselves. And I was like, yeah, that would be great. Uh, um, so actually that I guess technically that idea came later. But originally I was like, it would be great just to do a video on it. Because like there's nothing out on YouTube. Like it's very hard to find information on this, an actual video of it, because there's like one history video that I was able to find if you look up Magic of Disney Animation or, Feature Animation Florida. So I was like, this would be a good video because it's a topic that isn't covered very often. So I wrote it down in my video ideas,
Mhm.
and I like to do a big video once a year.
Mhm.
And trying to I map out my videos months and months in advance. So I was like, okay, big video for 24. What are we going to do here?
Right.
And I don't know what it was, but I just kind of got inspired to make a documentary on something. And like more because I always call my videos on my regular videos on YouTube documentary style, but it's not really a documentary per se because you aren't really doing interviews with people. That's how I kind of
Mhm.
categorize docs. And I was like, I want to make kind of a full length feature,
Mhm.
or even a mini doc. So I had a topic that kind of fell through and never really got off the ground. Um, and then I was just thinking about, some topics that I could do, and the animation building popped into my head, and I was like, that would be really good to do. And
Yeah, and I like when you reached out to me to do this interview,
mhm,
um, I was like, I watched the trailer
mm,
for this,
yeah.
and I thought it was incredible. I was just like, this
Oh, thank
is
you.
really interesting. This is something that needs to be told actually
Yeah.
because nobody knows a lot about this.
It's very surprising to me that no one has done anything like this before. Because it's got such a rich story behind it, and you wouldn't know it unless you really did some research or know someone that worked there.
Mhm.
So I was like, this needs to be told. It's kind of like Halix. Good buddy of mine, Matthew Serrano, who got a lot of inspiration from that documentary on mine, the Defunctland one. It's kind of like that. Rich history behind that band, but it hasn't been told before. Kind of like the studio. Rich history
Mhm.
behind the studio hasn't been told. And that was one of my criterias for the topic. I was like, I need something that hasn't been told yet because first, it would get a lot more views.
Mhm.
And then second, it's a lot more interesting to people because they're like, oh, I had no idea. Just like you said, I had no idea this thing. First, I had no idea that it existed. I've gotten that a
Mhm.
lot. And
Yeah.
then second, a lot of people were also like, I had no idea the
Mhm.
story behind it. Yeah, so it's very interesting. So I got a team of people that help me kind of research it. Um, and I got I guess you could technically call her a scene planner, I
Mhm.
guess. We kind of storyboarded when we were hearing the different stories that were going to be
Mhm.
told through this when I was doing the interviews finally. I kind of hired somebody, not really, because I don't really pay them all that much, but I kind of storyboarded because I have a small budget, but I storyboarded the thing. And what we did is we took um papers and we kind of wrote the story out on the papers and put them on a whiteboard with
Mhm.
like magnets and storyboarded that way. So a little bit of a different way of storyboarding because usually you draw the scene, but we wrote all the stories on the papers. So
Mhm.
we kind of did research that way, and then just talking to everybody. That's how research kind of
Mhm.
came about.
Right. And then that leads into my next question, actually. Um, what was the research like for
Yeah.
you to do this?
Well, it was hard. It was very hard. Um, it was tough because there's not a lot of information. There's one wiki article on it. So of course you got to use that. And that's how I that's how I got the names. Like that's how I got Mark Henn. Because I found him through that wiki and then put him down on a list of people that I knew work there. And then started reaching out through there. So a lot of the interviews helped with research and kind of crafting the story, and watching hours and hours of footage that is publicly available on YouTube, and then getting in contact with somebody that had a bunch of, would take his 90s camcorder around the studio and just has hours of footage, and then watching all of that and then kind of crafting the story that way. So really watching media that was available and that this guy recorded really helped a lot with research, because it also kind of, some holes that weren't really filled story-wise were filled because of that. So yeah, we kind of a different process of researching that I typically do, because usually a lot of the stuff is just available on Google. But yeah, that was kind of the research process. A lot of it was from doing interviews.
So you kind of spoiled one of the names that will be in, but I don't want to give too much away. But can you
the cast is fully revealed. You can say it if you
Oh,
want.
really? So
Yeah.
is Bob Gurr in it or not?
Bob Weiss is in it.
Bob Weiss is in it. Okay.
Bob Gurr created the monorail. Bob Weiss created MGM Studios.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of the two. I couldn't think of like
There's a lot of Bobs in Disney. It's Iger, Chapek, Gurr, Weiss. You just pick any. They all have incredible resumes. No, but Bob Weiss was the creative. Him and Marty Sklar were creative leads for Imagineering during the creation of MGM Studios. So he's in it. And he's always the one that people are most impressed that I got, because he's the most name recognition. Because I love everyone that's in it. But unfortunately, when you say a name like Rachel Bibb, for example, love Rachel, but you say her name, you're like, oh, who's that? But then when you say that she worked on the hyenas, in Lion King, and she worked on Tiana in Princess and the Frog, you're like, oh, okay, so she was she was an animator who created these iconic characters. The characters are the name recognition. But yeah, but Weiss, Bob was kind of a Hail Mary throw when I reached out to him, because I was like, I found his email. And I was like, okay, let's send him a request. If he says yes, great. That's a big name in this, and that'll be a big addition to the story and talking about the creation of the actual thing back in '88. And if he says no, whatever, there's nothing to lose here.
Right.
And he said, yeah. He said, I sent the email, and then within a few hours, he was a yes. It's, for a small channel like me, for him to do that was unbelievable. He was such a great guy. I was honored that he was able to take time to speak to me for that. So one of the great honors of my life, honestly.
That's incredible. Just for someone like you don't even know, you've never met, and them to just be like, yeah, sure,
yeah, absolutely.
I'll come on this project. It's fine.
And it was also, I think I got that because he doesn't do a lot of interviews, I don't think, because Disney controlled a lot of that kind of stuff. And then second, and also he's a busy guy, but second, I've never seen him talk about Magic of Disney Animation, even in the little interviews or documentaries, because he was in the Imagineering story, that wasn't mentioned in there. So I've never heard him speak about that. So when you get somebody and you pitch somebody an idea and it's like, oh, let's just talk about your career, as somebody who has also an interview, channel, it's a lot harder of a pitch to be like, oh, let's talk about your career, because to them, they've talked about it a million times. To you, it's like, oh my gosh, like I want to hear every story that you have. But when you come to them with a pitch and it's something that they haven't talked about, in a while or never have talked about, they're a lot more likely to say yes. So in that case, I think it was like, oh, okay, this is a cool topic. Let's get involved with this, even though it's fan made. I think at least.
Right. So then I gotta ask you then, what is your favorite Disney movie then?
Oh, well, technically it's out of the canon, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically, but my favorite movie actually of all time is a Goofy movie. Um, so that was not made in the animation building. My favorite one that was made in the animation building is Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, a Goofy movie is my favorite movie of all time. So I always have to say that.
I love Leon. That was actually on earlier today. I watched it.
Oh,
I
really?
loved it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. We were doing
That's
a screen. I had a screening of the documentary earlier today, so I wish I could have been able to watch Lilo. I would have if we weren't having a screening, but that's funny.
oh, it's funny. Oh,
Yeah.
so then I wanted to switch to ask you because they've been also doing Disney's been doing this thing where they're taking our childhood Disney
Mm.
movies into live action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a touchy subject for me, so go ahead.
What I wanted to know your opinion on the few that have been out.
Yeah, so I hate the live actions.
You do, yeah.
I don't like a single one except Beauty and the Beast.
I thought
Um
Beauty and the Beast was beautifully made.
yeah, I thought Beauty and the Beast was good, but other than that, they somehow suck the soul out of each movie that they remake. And they're remaking the wrong movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
a remake of Atlantis would go beautifully. A
Mm-hmm.
remake of Home on the Range would
Mm-hmm.
go very well. Remake of Brother Bear would be really cool. A remake of Chicken Little. You know, movies that are not good already, remaking them to try and make them a little bit better. Um
Oh yeah, because Chicken
that
Little is awful.
yeah, that would be make more sense than remaking Aladdin because it doesn't have to be remade. There's nothing. It's a near a perfect film. Like you don't need to. Most of the like Lion King. What needs to be remade about Lion King?
Mm-hmm.
What the Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Like what needs to be remade? It's almost a perfect movie.
My thing about the Lion King though too is like they're making Mufasa now,
Yeah,
which I'm okay with because like we don't know that story. We don't
yeah. At least
know.
that's an origin. That's a semi-original story. It would make
Yeah.
more sense to me if they did like Aladdin. You can't really do that per se. Maybe you can make Kid Aladdin because they have
Mm,
already the two animated sequels.
yeah.
Um, but like if you really wanted to, you could make like I don't know, what's a live action that you could do similar things with like what they're doing with Mufasa. You could easily do what happened after Beauty and the
Mm,
Beast, I guess,
yeah.
because that the sequel that came out is kind of like
Mhm.
a Beast is still Beast, so it like takes
Yeah.
place in the timeline, the
Like
Christmas movie. Um,
all I know is I heard too that they were making Little Mermaid 2 live action and I'm like, "No, don't
yeah,
touch her. Don't touch Melody. No, please don't."
yeah, yeah. Also you could easily do, and I guess that was kind of the TV show, the what happened before Little Mermaid. So
Yeah.
Little Mermaid kind of is already covered. But if you really want to make it bothers me that these live actions are being made 100% for monetary gain and not because you want to make a quality story. Um,
My thing too is with these live actions is like they're trying to modernize it and I'm just
mhm.
like,
Yeah,
why?
you
Why
can't.
would
It's
you
weird to modernize a story that's being told in the 1500s. Like it's just a strange take.
like the Snow White movie? I heard
Mhm.
that she's not being saved by the prince and like
Yeah.
true love doesn't it? Like
Yeah,
why?
then don't remake it. Like, and then not calling them the Seven Dwarfs, which I don't have a really issue with. Dwarf is kind of a, not a nice term anymore.
Not nice.
Yeah, so I get that a little bit, that's actually like mentally hurting somebody,
Yeah.
kind of, because if you call them a dwarf. Um, but
But changing the story is just like,
completely changing the story, and that's something that Disney did multiple
mhm,
times. What's the Little Mermaid? She gets like in the original story, she
mhm,
gets killed or something at the
yeah.
end, right?
Mhm.
So obviously they changed that. So Disney has changed the story in the past, um, but changing it to be more modern is a kind of a two-edged sword, because you can look at it from both ways. You can be like, okay, it's empowering women. That's all good, you know?
Yeah.
That's not, I don't have a problem with that. It's all good with me. Um, but then you got to look at it from the story angle.
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, so if she doesn't fall for the prince, Prince Charming, or he doesn't even have a name, it's the prince,
Mhm.
doesn't come and wake her up and kiss her. So
Mhm.
she's just dead. Like, how is she gonna wake up?
Mhm.
So so like you gotta be careful when you do that kind of stuff, because sometimes it can be like, okay, I see where you're changing that. There's something like I don't know, what was a good change that they did do to a live action. Ariel in the live action Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Um, people had a fit because of the color of her skin. It doesn't matter. It technically fits the story more
I loved
because,
it even
yeah, like,
more.
yeah, like it technically fits more because in the Caribbean waters that this is supposed to be taking place, or like that, wherever it's supposed to be taking place in the ocean,
Mhm.
the mermaids would be black. So like that kind of stuff, it doesn't affect the story at all. That's a silly kind of rant. But
Mhm.
when you're changing the story to modernize it, and it affects um the likeliness, or the when it starts to make the story make no sense,
Mhm.
then it's like, okay, this is
Mhm.
not good. Like when they had the new Jasmine song in
Mhm.
Aladdin, and that she was kind of like a dream sequence, but it
Mhm.
really wasn't told very well. Like you couldn't tell it was a dream sequence.
Yeah.
So and then at the end of the song they abruptly cut back to her in
Mhm.
actual reality, and it was like, whoa, what just happened?
Mhm.
But that whole song is about empowering Jasmine and realizing that she's her own person and she can stand up for herself. But it was a complete left field from what's happening on screen. So you
Mhm.
really have to be careful.
The ending of that movie kind of bugged me because it was like she's the one that killed Ursula in
Yeah.
that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
eh, that's not how the
I didn't like
movie.
Little Mermaid at all. I don't like I do reviews of
Yeah.
new Disney movies on my channel, and I'm lucky enough that I get a screener of it, so I don't have to go to the movie theater, and I can just watch
Mhm.
it on my computer, and so I
Yeah.
can write down my notes and everything. Um and I am very, very, very close to stopping reviewing live actions. And I know that the reason I'm scared to do it is because it would lose my screeners, and I don't want to, because my screeners are Marvel and Pixar, and I would lose all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm very close because I don't want to give it any promotion anymore. Like when there's a problem when Iger comes back into office and he's like, "Okay, guys, listen. Like these are not good stories that are being told. Let's focus on the story aspect a little bit more than the monetary gain a little bit more." There's a
Yeah.
problem when that happens. When the CEO of a company that is supposed to be business minded is like, you're falling behind on the story aspect. Like, let's
Well,
stop making.
it's the thing is when Bob Iger was before he left and before he came back, like
Mm,
before he left, he was a good guy. He like
yeah.
literally made everything perfect. And then Bob Chapek
Yeah,
came in and
Chapek.
ruined
We're se-
everything.
we're seeing Chapek, the fallout of Chapek.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like actually I don't want to bring that up. That's a little too political. It's kind of like when there was when there's a change in, I call it office. I call the
Mhm.
the CEO position a change in office, kind of like the
Mhm.
president.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of like you're really seeing how much Chapek really screwed up this company, because you're seeing the fall in stock and you're seeing all this kind of stuff that was happening that we really didn't know about, how mad the board was, stuff like that was happening behind closed doors, and we're hearing all these stories and are like, wait a minute, like,
I mean, people were leaving. Like, people were
yeah,
leaving the company because they were like, I
exactly.
don't want to work with this dude because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, and that happened. I mean, we're seeing a repeat of history because that happened when they closed the Florida studio. A lot of people left the company, and were mad with the way things were going. So we see a little bit. It like takes, it's like waves, the Disney company, because in the 50s, you know, let's start back there. You have the golden age, you have a high 60s, 70s. Walt dies, it starts to go a little down. And then the 80s, it's terrible, right? Almost bankrupts the company, almost has to sell. And then the 90s have another wave, have another incline. And then 2000s goes down again. But then Tangled happens, and then it goes up again. And then now 2020, it takes a dip. So it's like a sand dune.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
you keep seeing history repeat itself over and over. It's very strange.
I just thought, because Bob Iger did such good things before he left, and Bob Chapek took over, and then when Bob Chapek got fired, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, he got his ass fired.
You got fired, yeah.
He got fired. um, and then when Bob Chapek came back, I thought it was good. I was like, oh, great, it's gonna go good again. Everything's gonna be like normal again, and everything's gonna be fine. No,
Yeah,
nothing's normal.
It's still, yeah, it's a hard job that the guy has, honestly. Trying to save a company as big as Disney like that, try to get it back on track to the multi-billion-dollar, juggernaut that it was.
I just thought that he was gonna fix everything Bob Chapek did, but no, he's making it worse.
Yeah, some aspects. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, the guy, it's a tough. I think people are a little unfair to him,
Yeah.
because it's like sometimes some of the things that I see on like Twitter and stuff are like, oh, the second he was back in office, he didn't fix this and this and this and this. It was like, what do you want the guy to do? Like, what? Some of those things are literally impossible. You're asking him to do. Like,
he's a human.
Because he didn't bring back Horizons, like that makes him a bad CEO. Like, what? I don't get people's expectations.
He's a
sometimes.
human, guys. He's a human. He can do so much.
Yeah.
Only
I mean,
so much.
it's still the it's interesting what is happening with the Disney company right now. I'll just say that.
And it's gonna probably get more interesting.
Yeah,
as
with Epic
time
Universe
goes on.
especially.
Ooh. I'm excited for Epic.
I'm very excited for Epic.
I'm actually really excited.
I'm excited for Mufasa too, going back to live actions. I mean, the trailer just came out not too long ago. I'm kind of excited for that because it is an original story, and it's one that like we don't know how Mufasa grew up, so we've never really seen that before. So it's like it's not really a live action remake per se. It's just a CGI movie. So it's like,
right.
Give it a chance.
A lot of my friends, and you may know like Saint Hooch and everybody from TikTok or some other TikTok creators or Disney. They said they were like, I just don't understand why like they're doing this. Like, the Lion King was horrible, the CGI was horrible, like they had no expression. Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I wish it was animated, obviously, because you can get a lot more expression through the form of animation instead of CGI.
Yeah.
And it just looks a lot better sometimes. So I do wish it was animation, but whatever,
Because I mean, a lot of my
they
friends were
they feel like live action is a better way to go. So whatever.
Because a lot of my friends were kind of right. Like the Lion King the animals did not have expression at all.
They didn't. Yeah, they were very emotionless.
They all look dead inside.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Lion King, that was one that the studio at the time, the Florida studio, it at the Lion King time when they were making it, they would get chunks, and this is explained in the documentary, but
Mhm,
they would get chunks of the movie. So they
mhm,
would get like scenes or characters. The young Simba was led out of there. Young Nala was led
mhm,
out of there, and they did. I just can't wait to be king out of there. That whole
mhm,
sequence, that whole song is made in Florida.
mhm.
And same thing with the Kill the Beast mob song in Beauty
In
and the
Beauty and the
Beast.
Beast?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was made all in Florida.
That's
Um
interesting.
so yeah, but during Lion King, young Nala, Mark, and Aaron, who led those characters, talked to me about this. They would bring the lions into the studio and stuff like that, and they would also um they really worked on getting expressions for the character, and not only understanding like the anatomy of a lion,
Mhm,
or in like Raja's case, a tiger, really trying to take that and put expression to it. And
mhm,
they said it was tough. I'm sure it is. But yeah, they did a masterful job at it because you look at those characters and it's like you see a human in those eyes.
right.
You see in the when Simba is and Nala are a kid, you see
Mm,
a baby's eyes in those eyes, and when they smile or they're upset or something, you
mm,
really see human
yeah.
expression in there, and
Mm,
it's pretty amazing how that's done.
mhm.
um
Well,
Not
even
just for
like,
Lion King, but for any
yeah.
animal character like that.
Well, like even for like Tarzan, like Tarzan was
Oh yeah, yeah.
incredibly made. Like
Hmm.
the artistry in that was just beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, you got talking animals that are very expression. um and I mean, that's something that Disney does so well. I mean, even going back to the package films, on my channel, I do a series where I talk about all the package films with my buddy Ryan. We
Mm,
do the history of them. Like the video is like two halves. We do the history and then we actually watch the film, and then after we're done watching the film, we record our thoughts about it. And
mm,
that's something that we always talk about is a lot of the package films have very inanimate objects that are just very expressionative, and
mm,
you can tell if they're sad or happy or angry, and they don't even have a face. Like there's a in Make My Music, there's a sequence, a short, I forget what it's called, but it's just instruments. There's a
mhm,
clarinet, and the clarinet is like the the bottom of the clarinet looks like it has legs and
mm,
he's walking. And when you can tell when he's either angry or mad through the use of music, but also through the use of animation,
mm.
it's just it's so cool how that's done.
I can't remember, but did Fantasia was that in the animation building too, or was that somewhere else
Fantasia was made in the original Burbank studio.
in the Burbank
Um,
studio? Okay.
yeah, because I'm sure you know, but the back in the 40s and stuff like that, um, the Hat Building, as it's called, the
Yeah.
current Burbank studio was not always there. That was made
Mm,
in '94. So the original Burbank studio is you can go to it actually, because you can go to it and get as close as you can because it's technically on the lot, but you
mm,
can get as close as you can to the original studio.
mhm,
And yeah, it's just like a little, I think it's offices now. And it's just a
mm,
little, you would never know the history to it. It's just a little building.
mhm.
It's just so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have an interview tomorrow, and she um lives like right next to
Oh
the
yeah.
Warner Brothers studios, and so
Oh
she lives
wow.
like right across the street from them, and so I get to talk to her about that
That's cool.
and the animation studio. I'm like, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I got something to tell you after we're done recording then. I don't want to
All right.
say it on air
All right.
about the Burbank studio.
Yeah. So before we wrap up here, I just um wanted to see if you had any thing you wanted to say to the audience about when this documentary is airing and where?
Mhm. Yeah, so it's out on May 24th, and it's gonna be just free on YouTube. I'm working to get it on a streaming platform, maybe like a free streaming platform, like a Tubi or something like that. I'm just trying to get the legal aspect of it being on YouTube as well, getting that nailed down. But yeah, it'll be free. Anyone can watch it. It's on youtube.com/c/big beautiful diz. On Friday, May 24th, there'll be a big premiere and everything, and there'll be a chat where I'll probably be in. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So to everyone listening, if you haven't seen the trailer, please go and watch the trailer. I think you'll really like it. Because it was a remote studio, but it's working on these films that I mentioned, and those films have changed Disney history. So it's like it was a main building. It's like if it was the Burbank studio. And it's just so cool because of how tight these people were, because it was such a small studio as well. But they're making these incredible films. So it's like a lot of people are like, there should be a documentary on just like the Disney Burbank studio in general,
Yeah.
how they were making the 30s, 40s, 50s films. And it's like, I don't think, unless you're specifically talking about the Walt Disney days, I think this may even have a more fascinating history than the Burbank studio does. Cause it's like the aspect of the closeness of the animators is really what made the studio special. And I've heard from people that have worked at the Burbank studio, and they're like, it was different. There's a person that is in this, and they currently work at the Burbank studio, and they worked at the Florida studio, and they were like, it's an honor to be working at Disney still, but the Florida studio was just different. There was just something about it that was unique, and it's just different. It's a different atmosphere than the Burbank one. So, again, it's a story that needs to be told, and I hope everyone really enjoys it, because I'm very excited for everyone to be able to see it.
I'm excited to watch. I'm definitely excited to watch it. I'm going to definitely tune in and watch it. I'll be in the chat. I will do all the things. I will share it. I will post it on my stories. I
I
will do
appreciate that.
everything.
I appreciate that.
And you all need to watch it too, because just by the trailer, it is a doozy.
Yeah, because it also gets into a little bit of the magic of Disney animation after 2004, when it was the Mushu show, and it was the Animation Academy, where the Disney artist, which wasn't an artist that worked in the studio. Some people think that was a studio artist. It's not. It's a different animator, who would teach you how to. They do this in Animal Kingdom still. In Rafiki's Planet Watch, they teach you how to draw certain different Disney characters.
That's what
And
I was about to say. Is I remember that being at Rafiki's Planet Watch.
yeah.
I don't think they do that anymore. I don't
Oh, do
think
they
so.
not? Oh.
I think they got rid of that.
Oh man, they probably did, because they don't like animation in Disney World.
I
Um,
I also think like they're shutting down Rifki's Planet Watch. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard.
it's a rumor. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
certainly a rumor that I've heard before. I don't
yeah.
even go up there anymore, so I don't even know if it's there anymore or not.
I don't
But a
go up
lot of
there anymore.
the animators that actually worked at Magic of Disney Animation, that did the show there, um, the Animation Academy went to work when that opened, and they worked there for a while. And
Yeah, I mean, I think I went up there like once as a kid, and I'm like, I
yeah,
don't understand what the hype is. I'm not going
yeah,
up here
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. I used to go to Rafiki's Planet Watch when I was a kid. Now I don't really go anymore. I loved Magic of Disney Animation with like the Mushu show and the meet and greet, because like
Oh,
they have all meet and greets there. Like it was The
yeah.
Incredibles and then Sorcerer Mickey. and then whatever newest Disney film was there. So it was like
Mhm.
Baymax and Hero would meet there at in like 2013, and then before that, I think it was like Up and Ratatouille was in there at one point, and um, Princess and the Frog maybe or something like that. Um, but yeah, that building, and now it's Launch Bay. It's Star Wars Launch Bay and Animation Courtyard, and little tidbit for anybody who goes to Launch Bay, um, where you go down the steps, like the little mini steps inside of the building, you go down and the meet and greets for like Chewie and Kylo are down there. That was where the studio was. That's the studio floor. And if you see the glass, because the film is called Beyond the Glass, because the glass was so synonymous with the studio, it was, called the fishbowl and everything. The glass is still there. Partly. They took out some of it to make that little staircase, but the glass is still there a little bit. And you can go to Launch Bay and see it still.
A
So that's
little tidbit about Launch Bay. I don't think that it's necessary. I don't like Launch Bay. Like, why is it there?
I've never talked to anybody who likes Launch Bay. I've never heard anybody have a positive thought about it. I'm serious. Like, literally, I've had this conversation with multiple people. It's not needed. It was a preview for Galaxy's Edge, and then it stayed around. It's like, why is it here? I don't understand.
It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, it's very.
And it's like way in the back, like way in the back behind, like of Hollywood Studios. So I'm like, why is it all the way back there? No one goes back there barely. Like,
yeah, that whole area, Animation Courtyard, needs a huge boost. I know the Little Mermaid show, Voyage of the Little Mermaid's coming back with an updated show, so that'll give it a little boost. But other than that, Launch Bay needs to go. Like, there's no reason it's there.
No, no.
Yeah,
like,
very weird placement.
Gut it out, and then maybe either revamp it into like a show or something, or new characters, or something, or maybe a shop. Maybe put a shop there.
Yeah, shop, or just bring back Magic of Disney Animation, dude, because it's called Magic of Disney Animation. You can put something better in there.
Yeah.
Whether it's the drawing class and then something else that is a little bit cooler than the Mushu show, and then do something with the space for the meet and greets were. Yeah, I think it's a huge waste of space. It's kind of like having Star Tours over in Disneyland, because I have that problem that Star Tours is in there, Tomorrowland, and it's all the way across the park from Galaxy's Edge. But at least that's an attraction. Launch Bay is nothing. Like, it's you go in there and you watch a sneak preview of movies that are already out, because like they have this cut of Star Wars movies for some reason in the old Back to Neverland theater, and then you go out and the meet and greets, but just put them in Galaxy's Edge. Like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, today is May like, I know that people are gonna get mad, but guess what? This episode's not going to come out for another 2 weeks, so you can't get mad at me. Even though today is Revenge of the Fifth, Star Wars Day, like the second day of Star Wars Day or whatever. That's stupid. Like, they have March the 4th, which is like May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, and then they have Revenge of the 6th.
Yeah, 5th, 6th.
Yeah,
it depends on how people celebrate that.
And I'm like, no, we don't need. No, we don't need to be celebrating.
One day is enough for the Star Wars Day.
Yeah. And I've never seen a single Star Wars, by the way. So.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Never seen a single Star Wars.
It's good. They're good. You should. You can skip. You can skip 8 and 9, but yeah, they're good.
And then I feel bad because I love Carrie Fisher, but like, I don't.
If it's not, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I mean, I understand that. I never gotten into like The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings or anything like that. That's never been my thing. Star Trek, not for me.
Yeah, I think I went on like Star Tours the ride once,
Hmm.
never again because oh my god, that hurt my back
Yeah, that
so
can
bad.
also, that can screw people up.
That screwed up my spine, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and that was like 4 years ago, and 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm still in pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Star Tours is an interesting ride. That can certainly mess you up if you're not expecting if you're
And they're
not
trying to
expecting it.
entice me with like, oh, we added new scenes to the ride. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not going back.
Yeah. Every scene in Star Wars is new for you because you haven't seen it.
Oh, we added new like new scenes to it. So then like so we changed the story a little bit. I don't care. I do not care.
I think Star Tours needs to go too, honestly, because of
Yes.
the in between it being having Muppets in between that and
Mhm.
Galaxies. I wish that would go. I wish
Yeah.
Star Tours would go too, because it's Smugglers is just a better version of that ride.
Speaking of like just where everything is in Hollywood studios, why does it make sense that Indiana Jones is right across from Star Tours? Why is that? Like, why is it near Star Tours? Like, the placement of things are just not mapping.
Hmm. So Star Tours opened in '89,
Mm-hmm.
late '89. It was not an opening day attraction, and then Indy was technically not an opening day attraction and opened in October
Mm-hmm.
because they had to fix the show. So the stunt theater and and then eventually Star Tours were kind of placed next to each other because they're both Lucas properties, I assume. And then Sunset Boulevard was not open with the park.
Mm-hmm.
Theater of the Stars, that where Beauty and the Beast live on stage, where that is now, is not its original location. That theater was actually, or that stage was actually where Sunset Boulevard starts now, where that
Mm-hmm.
like road starts. So that stage was there, and then where Animation Courtyard is, the Voyage of the Little Mermaid Theater was like, here come the Muppets. It
Mm-hmm.
was like a Muppet stage show, and then where the animation building was also the backstage tour, the backlot tour
Mm-hmm.
entrance as well. So that on in '89, that was like 2 hours, like a 2 hour long thing, because it took you through everything, and then that was cut down over the years as they added more attractions. But yeah, great movie ride, and backlot were technically the only, and then animation building, but the three opening day attractions, and then Indy, and then Star Tours came. So there wasn't a lot to do in the park.
Right.
Um, so I think that's why those two are so close to each other, and it just feels weird placing now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Muppet Vision is there too, so it's very strange placement now. But back then there wasn't a lot to do, so it was just kind of like,
Right.
okay, let's put these here.
Because a lot of people I talk to, they don't like where Muppets is. They think it's out of place where it is.
Oh,
I'm like,
very very
yeah,
out of place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which yeah, I mean, I get, yeah, because it's way back there too, isn't it? It's like
Hmm.
you gotta walk a ways to get all the way back there, and
Yeah, right outside of Galaxy's Edge.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was gonna be a Muppet Land, um, but Muppet Vision was the only one finished before Jim Henson died, so that the land wasn't able to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is weird placing that it's back there. It was even weirder when uh Pizza Planet was there instead of Pizza Rizzo,
Mm-hmm.
but they had the back lot back there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy's Edge didn't exist yet, so it made a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've Hollywood Studios is my favorite park. It always has been and always will be.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that park, but it needs some work done.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more. A little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Muppets though too, it's like I want to meet Kermit. Why aren't there meet and greets for the Muppets?
They look weird. They actually did have a Kurt Mint meet and greet. I don't know if you ever seen pictures of those. They did have a Muppets meet and greet.
I didn't know that.
And those costumes look very strange.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
because they look like puppets, but fully walking around. So they looked very
Oh.
weird. They basically look like stuffed animal. And you know how Kermit's very slim too?
Yeah.
His legs are very slim. His body
Yeah.
is a very
Mm.
identifiable shape, you know?
Mm.
That's not able to be done because there's a spoiler alert for people who are over the age or under the age of 9 years old. There's a guy in the costume. So it's not possible for the legs to be very, small.
Yeah.
So it just looks like a guy that has a homemade costume on pretty much. They didn't really look that great. I would love for them to be able
Oh.
to make that work, but unfortunately it's just I don't think it's able to happen. I wish. I wish so bad that there could easily be a puppet meet and greet. Like you could
Mm.
meet a Kermit,
Mm.
puppet. That would be doable. They did with
Yeah.
Constantine, they could do it again.
Wasn't
But yeah, the
there like a
walkarounds were very weird looking.
Snuffleupagus meet and greet? The elephant,
Um,
the elephant Muppet or whatever.
oh, from Seth, isn't that from Sesame Street?
It maybe I was thinking about that because
There
I
was
know.
I think there might have been one. There was probably one in SeaWorld.
Yeah,
There is a Sweetums walk around
Sweetums.
that
That's
comes
what.
out, and there
Yeah,
was one there was one in SeaWorld,
yeah,
because the SeaWorld has like the Sesame Street area, but the
yeah.
there is a Sweetums one because he comes out during Muppet Vision, but also during the making of the movie, that is also a costume. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's like a suit. It's a suit
Yeah.
for Sweetums. Same thing for Big Bird. Like it's already a walk around in the movie, so it's very
Yeah.
easy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Translating a puppet is looked not very good.
Well, even like in Epcot when they do the American show,
Yeah.
like the show about America, like the Muppets come out through the windows and they like
Hmm.
tell a story about how America was made and all that crap.
Yeah. I think they
uh
could easily do something like that with a meet
yeah,
and greet. It would be
yeah,
very easy. I wish they
yeah.
did.
Just like a low bearing window people could stand in front of and then they just come out.
Yeah. You know
Like
what's
like
wild?
well oh
Speaking
sorry.
about, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I was like they do with Donkey in Universal.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be, yeah, exactly. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the walkarounds are so fascinating to me because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how many characters do we not see anymore that don't come out for meet and greets anymore that they still have back there in those wardrobes? Because
Right.
it would not be surprising to me if they still had like Phil from Hercules and like
Mm.
Frollo or um the Muppets. Like I'm sure the Muppets costumes are back there. What would they do with them? You know? Roger Rabbit, he doesn't come
I
out anymore for
still
legal reasons, but I'm sure that he's back there somewhere.
I saw a couple like a picture from a couple like a long time ago when Jessica Rabbit was like a character. Oh my
Yeah,
god, that was horrible.
yeah.
Oh my
That
god,
was
that
the
costume
overseas Jessica Rabbit. Yeah.
looked horrifying. The big giant like
God, I don't know what they were thinking with
the
that.
head didn't match and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god."
Horrible costume. Horrible costume. Oh my God. Yeah. That was a terrible costume.
I'm so glad that that retired because that
Me too.
was
Me too.
ooh,
Me too.
ooh, gave me nightmares. Just look at the picture on Google.
Yeah.
Oh, if anybody's listening to this, go Google that. And
Yeah,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Please.
I'm sorry in advance. Oh my god.
Yeah, horrible costume character.
But yeah, you know what? I just realized when you said Phil, I never knew that he was a character that would walk around. I don't know.
Yeah, his walk around was very rare. Would he
Yeah.
come out? He wouldn't come out at all very often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think probably only like the year the movie was made I would
Mhm.
think, because I've never met him. I've never seen him out except for like special events. So sometimes they bring out the special characters
Mm.
for like the DVC events and stuff like that. So I've seen him out then.
Mhm.
But other than that, I don't know when he comes out. I don't know when he was always available.
I mean, they barely bring out Esmeralda, but
That's
I
true.
really want them to bring out Quasimodo. That'd be
That would look
great.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
his
the
costume from the old stage show looks really good, I think.
yeah. In the gargoyles. I want to meet the gargoyles.
Gargoyles would be cool. I'm glad that they're bringing out Max on a consistent basis again, because like I
Mm,
said earlier, Goofy movie is my favorite movie, so I'm
mm,
really glad to see him out all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah. But I mean, the only time that they also just bring out the villains is during Halloween, which is
Yeah,
dumb.
disappointing. Yeah, yeah, I would like to see more villain representation. It's always
Except
cool to be able to meet them.
except for the evil queen. She's out all the freaking time. But no, is
Mhm.
any other villain? No. Because they were like, we don't want you other villains. We just want the evil queen.
Yeah,
Apparently.
yeah.
I also want them to make a Ursula mean great.
Mm,
I want that to be a character. Like, why
that
isn't
would be
that a
cool.
character?
That would be really cool because they could do it because they have the costume animatronic thing. I think it's a human in that suit, but they have like a costume for the Little Mermaid show, so that could
Mhm.
easily be done.
Yeah.
That would be great too because she could be a face character and she could really do some great ad libs with the
Yeah.
jazz. That would be a really
Yeah,
cool
and
encounter.
try to get the guest to sign her scroll the
Yeah,
scroll, try
yeah,
to get him.
yeah,
uh
absolutely.
well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot
Mhm.
of fun.
Do you want to promote your documentary one last time for
Uh,
everyone?
yeah, I'll do it one last time. YouTube.com/C/Big Beautiful Diz is the channel. And then the documentary is available on May 24th. So, like I said before, live event and everything. There'll be premiere on YouTube. And with the premieres, there's a chat feature. So I'll be in the chat hanging out. I'm trying to do a little Q&A thing before the thing premieres because it's going to premiere at 6 p.m.
Mm,
So I might try to do a Q&A, live Q&A thing maybe at like 5 or so, and
mm,
then the premiere happens.
mm,
But we'll see. I'm not sure yet.
mm.
But yeah, I really hope that everyone enjoys it. Beyond the Glass, the WDW animation building.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for now. I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.